Hey everybody, I'm Greg, host of The Open Throttle. Today we're going to cover 5 different steps I'm taking to prepare for almost a month-long road trip covering thousands and thousands of miles. So before we head out on the open road next week, it's important that you make sure that your bike is set up properly. So today we're going to talk about 5 things that we're doing, and hopefully you could find some really good value out of this video. So number 1, the first thing that I did starting earlier last week was I ceramic coated the entire bike. It was not easy. It took a lot of time. For me, I just put on some really good 80s metal and I kind of got into it. So I've had a couple of people ask me, based on some pictures that I posted, what did I do? What did I use? So the first thing I did was I went to Adams Polishes, and this isn't paid content, and I bought a SK Micro polisher. So it comes in a pretty cool kit. And inside the kit, here's the box that it comes in. It's a great carrying case. You get a charger, you get 2 batteries. You can see the size of it. It is handheld, and I'm gonna put the rotor right up front. So you can see it's not really ideal to detail a car, but what's really great about it is it comes with 2 different types of pads. You get a blue pad and a white pad. The blue pad is for compound, the white pad is for polishing. So you simply stick the pad right on the end of it and you're in business. So the first step is you need to compound the bike. You go over the entire bike, use compound, take your time. This is gonna get out your deeper scratches. If you have a prior, if you have ceramic coat already on the bike, this is gonna take it right off, which I did. So I wanted to start from scratch again. After the compound, I did the entire bike again with polish. And this makes a huge difference. Do not skip the polish part. Because what you want to do is when you ceramic coat a bike, it's all about the paint prep. It really is. If you have scratches or imperfections or blemishes, once you apply that ceramic coat, it's going to magnify it. I mean, it's like hitting it with a magnifying glass. So it's worth it to take the time, invest the time, and do your paint prep correctly. Once you're done with that, I use graphene this time. And this is the bottle that it comes in. It's a small little bottle. You just apply it to a suede applicator, up, down, side, side, hit the bike once, let it cure 24 hours, and you're in business. So I don't know if you can tell, I've got the bike indoors today because the weather in New York has been disgusting and you just can't get any good sunlight for the last 2 weeks. But I don't know if you can tell from this indoor vantage point, but I would say 98% of the bike looks like a brand new bike again. So over time, you are gonna get scratches on a bike that are deep enough that compounding and polishing isn't gonna do anything. They're battle scars, right? So we've all been there. We've all had a scratch, a nick. It sucks, we hate it, but when you add ceramic over it, it is gonna magnify. So on my back fender, I have a number of nicks and scratches more towards the top. And I mean, I would have to repaint the whole fender, which I'm not gonna do. But otherwise, the main reason why I did the ceramic coat for going out on such a long road trip is paint protection. I wanted to make sure that I could do whatever options were available outside of basically putting a clear film over the bike, that I could give the paint as much protection while I'm on the road. And also, I'm not gonna have my hose, I'm not gonna have my power washer. I have to make do with whatever either water spigots I can find on the road, stopping at Harley Davidson dealers, car washes, right, that I find along the way. When you ceramic coat or graphene coat your bike, you hit it with water and it's gonna remove like 95% of the dust, the road grime. It just comes right off. So for that reason, I felt step number 1, protect the paint. Number 2, when you're going on a long road trip and you're carrying a passenger and you've got lots of luggage, which we do, tour pack is filled, that's a chopped. Tour pack is filled, that bag weighs roughly 37 pounds, and each saddle bag is completely filled to the top. So you need to modify your suspension, okay? If you think about compression and rebound of a suspension, it's all based on weight. How heavy is the load that the bike is carrying? And that's gonna have an impact when you hit bumps as to how the shocks compress and then how they rebound. As you add more weight, you are compressing the shock, you have less travel, so you need to modify your shocks. Super important. In the front, I run GP 25 millimeter suspension cartridges, and in the back, I run Öhlins 159s. So they both come with great capabilities to make your adjustments. Öhlins, if you go to their website, you can actually type in how much you weigh, how much your weighs, and then how much weight you're packing into the bike, and it will tell you in millimeters what the gap needs to be, and then you just hit it with the wrench, make sure that those numbers line up, you're golden. Really the same thing in the front with GP. Allen key, just add some pressure and you're good to go. The third thing that I feel is super important and mandatory is you got to change your fluids. Primary, transmission, and oil. New filters are a must. Fresh oil, for the gears, for the tranny, you got to make sure you do it. And one step that I think a lot of people may forget, and if you do, don't, that is when you take the bolts out from underneath the motorcycle and you're draining the fluids, there's an O-ring that's on those bolts. They're a nickel each, and most of the time the dealer will just toss them to you. Make sure you change those rings, because if any of those rings, when you loosen the bolt and then tighten it again, if there was any imperfection in that O-ring, as you tighten it down, it's going to stretch and it's going to snap. You're not going to know about it until you're leaking oil or some sort of fluid. God forbid your bolt comes loose. So these are little tips that could save you a tremendous amount of headache, especially when you're traveling through Montana and you're 150 miles between a gas station and you can't get your hands on oil. So very important to make sure that you change your O-rings. And also, when you take the primary cover off, there is a gasket in there. Harley Davidson sells a kit. It comes with the gasket. I think it's $10. Super important to make sure that you change the gasket as well. So all three fluids, run the bike, get it hot, and then recheck your fluid levels again and make sure that you're right on the money. And when you're on the open road, it's always good to have about a half a pint of engine oil with you just in case. So the next thing that I did, step number 4 in preparing for such a long ride, was I put new tires on the bike. So right now this bike's got about 13,000 miles on it, and I've been running the stock tires that the bike came with. But based on the fact that we're going to be putting thousands of more miles on this trip, I went with Metzler. I went with the Cruise Techs. There are so many great tires out there. I'm not going to really get into why I chose that over something else. I mean, we all do our own research, but I highly recommend that you put new tires on the bike. If you do that, do not put new tires on your bike and then load your bike the next day and take off. Put some mileage on the bike. Make sure that the tire's sealed properly, that they're not losing any air. Make sure that they're adjusted properly. So this way, if there is an issue, you have some time before you head out on your trip. So number 5, the 5th step that we took to prepare for the trip is the packing. And, I think guys want to bring certain items, and then the women want to bring other items, and you have to kind of figure out, how are we fitting everything into this bike? So we actually pulled it off. And one item that takes up, in my opinion, too much space are the rain suits, right? So, we've never been to Sturgis before, super excited to go. We're spending almost 4 weeks on the road. There is not a doubt that we're not going to run into some rain, and we're probably going to run into rain multiple times. So we had to buy some rain suits, and they come in these bags, and the bags are kind of bulky. So what we did was we took the rain suits out of the bag, and on one saddle bag, we layered them down, and I shoved them and pushed them into every crevice I could find in the bottom of the saddlebag to create a layer. On top of that, we took our fleece jackets, we took my leather vest and my sweatshirt, another leather vest, and we laid them flat. So we're just layering and layering and layering and layering. And then on top, we have sunglasses, gaiters, masks. And then on the other side, in the other saddlebag, we have some fluids, we have a toolkit, and then we have some more items that we need to get to quickly if we're on the road and I need to grab something, a waffle shirt in case it gets cold. So those are the items that we put in the saddlebag, because these are items that we feel we're gonna need to access on the regular. In the tour pack and in the suitcase that's up on top, that's the clothes. That's the shoes. Our laptop is in there. We've got our GoPro, we've got chargers, and basically everything else. And the reason why we did it that way is, every day when we get to a new hotel or a new destination, we simply just take the suitcase off, put it in the room, head back out on the bike. Some of the locations we're there for 2 nights, maybe 3 nights. So it's important that the items that need to stay in the bike on the regular are in the saddlebags, and then everything else comes right out of the tour pack and comes right off the bike from the suitcase. So, and something else that I wanted to add that we did, I like to prepare, and I always like to know that, God forbid, road, and we run into an issue, we kind of know where we can find some support. So first thing that we did was we mapped out, and I'm sure we'll modify it, but we mapped out every ride that we're taking from one hotel to the next. We mapped out the back roads, and we saved each leg of that trip as a separate Google map. So this way I can access it in Notes. So I took that URL of Google Maps and I opened up Notes on the iPhone, and we now have a specific route for everywhere that we're going. So if for some reason we lose signal, it's already in the bike, okay? And then the second thing that we did was we actually made a list of every Harley Davidson dealer that we're going to pass, or that's within 4 to 5 miles of every road that we're taking. So this way, you get a blowout, you have an issue, we need to get the bike into a shop, we're not scrambling. We've got that information right in front of us, make the phone call, get the bike into the shop, get it fixed, get back on the road. So this way, we're minimizing as much downtime as possible. Now, we also took all the information that I just described, put it into a document, and we sent it to some of our family. So this way people know where we're gonna be, and if somehow we need some assistance while we're on the road, somebody can help us out. So those are the 5 things plus an extra freebie tip that we're doing on this trip. And for those of you that are heading out to Sturgis, we'll be there in the beginning and look forward to seeing and meeting some new friends. And other than that, ride safe, and we'll catch you next time on the Open Throttle.